This is the network service of the NTA.
It's good to be here. Happy New Year to you. We are so excited that God Almighty has given us a gift of a brand new year. And we pray that 2024 is fantastic for all of us. We are excited and happy. Now, let's get the show started. In life, offenses will come, from the very light ones to the very grievous ones. And the offender could be a friend, a trusted friend, a colleague, a family member, a business partner. As a matter of fact, anyone can offend anyone at all. Now, what happens when offenses come? Do you hold on to the emotions, to the anger, the bitterness, the unforgiveness? Or do you at a point decide, turn around, and take the not so easy road of forgiveness? My emphasis here is not so easy road of forgiveness. Forgiveness will mean different things to different people. But generally speaking, forgiveness is making a decision to turn away from the hurt that you experienced when someone hurt you. That's forgiveness. I like what a renowned Christian author wrote, and I quote, his name is Louis Smith. He said that forgiveness is setting a prisoner free, only for you to discover that the prisoner is actually you. Forgiveness is very powerful. It does more good for the person who is forgiven than the person who offended you. On our show today, our focus is on forgiveness, letting go of grudges, anger, and bitterness. What better time to have that conversation than the beginning of the year, where a whole lot of us are setting goals, making resolutions, and all that. In all that you're doing, please find a place for forgiveness. It is Weekend Deal coming to you from the network service of the NTA. My name is Patient Eloy Abba, and I'm delighted that you're keeping our company today. You know our program is interactive, right? We will love to hear from you. Let's hear your stories. Let's hear how you overcame that particular situation. We will be glad that you did. And of course, trust me, you don't want to go into the new year with those baggages. Keep it light and keep it flowing. Welcome back. Today on the show, it's all about forgiveness and letting go of the grudge, the bitterness, and the anger. The great Maya Angelou said that the greatest gift you can give yourself is to forgive. And she goes ahead to say, forgive everyone. Our backgrounder will set the tone and also start the conversation properly. It is by Frances Ogbe.
In a world filled with conflict and unresolved emotions, the new year invites us to explore the profound impact of letting go.
In the year that has just passed, people probably may have experienced bitterness at work, experienced bitterness in family, experienced bitterness with their friends, experienced bitterness with business partners, experienced bitterness and are angry. They are keeping malice. Because when you see what is going on in our community today, one of the reasons for a good number of the fights, one of the reasons for most of the violent conflict is because of yesterday grudges. We need to forgive those who have hurt us. We need to forgive and put behind us those things that have hindered us from a good relationship between us and our friends, our neighbors, and even those we think do not like us.
Holding on to grudges is like carrying a burden. It affects every aspect of your life.
Generally, unforgiveness is keeping poison in your heart. So there's bitterness in so many people's life, and it just hurt them. They cannot sleep. They are even sick because of bitterness. And so that is what unforgiveness does to people. It makes you lose your joy, your peace, your happiness, and also keeps you away from people who ordinarily would have stayed with them and enjoy a wonderful relationship. So if we celebrate New Year and we've entered into another year, and you keep bitterness of 2023, you keep the pains of 2023, whether between you and your wife, between wife and husband, or between you, family members or relatives or co-worker, you went on Christmas break, you went on New Year break, and you are back and you are still angry, they are greeting you, good morning. So what kind of life is that?
Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of resentment.
If you're a Christian and you are well informed about what God says about forgiveness, you will forgive. And I've heard my Muslim brothers also say in the Quran teaches forgiveness. So when you fail to forgive, you do not have the knowledge of faith to understand what your faith talks about forgiveness, then you lose it. The Bible even teaches us a process of reconciliation. I say, look, if somebody offends you, go and tell him. If he fails to listen, take 2 people and speak to him. When he fails to listen to those people, report it to the church so that a larger council will come in and actually help him to understand. It is when he becomes stubborn and refuses to accept all those stages that you can treat him as an infidel. And so it teaches us that we as religious leaders or teachers of God's word must teach people to understand what our scripture says about forgiveness. You can play sport if you don't forgive. Have you seen how they do it in sport? When during the game everybody is trying to match at the other one, tackle the other one, hit the leg of the other one, but the moment it is over, they hug each other and even exchange juicy. That's a sign of, oh, whatever we did, I don't hold it against you. I just wanted us to win, and the game is over. You won. Congratulations. Oh, the game is over. I won. I'm happy. And you also can congratulate me. So that spirit of sportsmanship also teaches us what forgiveness is all about. Forgiveness is a difficult thing. That is why spiritual maturity counts a lot in forgiveness. What do we teach people in the university? We don't just teach them to read and write. We teach them how to develop interpersonal relationship. And in how do you build interpersonal relationship? Forgiveness comes into it. You see people not doing what you want. You see people not liking things the way you want. You see people not dressing the way you think they should dress. You have to accept them. And they may even say things you don't want to say.
Letting go is an art, a courageous step towards a brighter and more harmonious world.
Our country really needs forgiveness. Forgiveness in the home, forgiveness in school, forgiveness in some of our region, forgiveness at the national level. When Oputa panel was put together, it actually was supposed to be like a truth and reconciliation committee, where people can meet, talk about what happened, and forgive one another. Until and unless we adopt and embrace one another and forgive one another for whatever wrong decisions that have been taken, we will continue to be backward.
As we journey through the year 2024, may forgiveness be the key to unlocking a brighter future. Weekend Deal today is captioned, letting go of grudges, anger and bitterness.
Forgiveness remains powerful. Forgiveness sets you free. And like I said, forgiveness does more for you who is forgiven than the person who offended you, because it just releases you in a way nothing else would. Our 2 wonderful guests are in the house. They are like friends of the house already. Let's meet our first guest virtually, Reverend Father Sly Eje. Our second guest, amongst us other things, is a forgiveness therapist, and I'm talking about Francis Wadozie Onyekwe. Let's meet him. We're having a little conversation. Father was saying something while we were looking at that profile. I'm going to start with a very basic question. Father, I'm starting with you. What does forgiveness mean to you? How would you describe forgiveness? Because we agree that forgiveness will mean different things to different people. So what is forgiveness to you, Father Sly?
Basically, forgiveness is letting go of the pain, the hurt, the bitterness, the anger resulting from something someone has done to you, an offense, or maybe something someone did not do. Because it could be a result of something someone did
not do,
or something someone you were expecting someone to do and the person did not do. True. And so you are sad, you are angry, you are bitter, you are resentful and all of that. The ability to let all of those negative feelings go, to set yourself free, that is forgiveness.
Okay, Mr. Francis, how would you, in your own words, describe forgiveness?
Yeah, he has said it all, but I think it's a renewal of mind, redirection of mind. You understand? Because when you're hurt, your mindset is to revenge. You are bitter, you are angry. But at the point your mind is reframed, your mind is redirected, your mind is renewed, not to be bitter, not to be angry, that is forgiveness. You've let go.
Renewal of the mind. It's a renewal of the mind. That's a very powerful one too. Okay, now for forgiveness, for so many people, why, I'm going to ask this question to you, Father. Why is it easy for some people to forgive and others it takes a whole process? Yeah, some people will just forgive and move on. Others, it's a whole process. Why is it like that?
I think largely depends on individual makeup. One, that's a contributing factor. Secondly, I will also attribute that to people's level of exposure. Exposure now to the Word of God, exposure to experiences, and exposure also to truths and facts about matters of this nature. Some people know better that in forgiving, they are doing themselves a favor. Some people do not know. They think that revenge is what does them a favor. But the reverse, the contrary, is the fact, is the truth. So exposure to all of those things will make it a lot easier for some people to forgive. And a very major factor, I think, also is our relationship with God. The closer we are to God, the easier it is for us to forgive, because we will try to be merciful like the Father. Talking now about the Year of Mercy, which we celebrated a few years back in the Catholic Church, because we come to the understanding that God, our Father, forgives us. And based on the authority of scriptures and the repeated word of God, we ought to be like our Father, to show mercy to those who are on our bad side, let's use that. And when we are aware of all of this, it's a lot easier for us to understand that we need to forgive those who have wronged us. But for some persons, it's not the case. And some persons, it's hard, like you said. So they need to be guided. It takes a longer time, a longer process. But for some, it's just their makeup. So things come, things go, and life goes on.
Okay, Mr. Francis, what are the processes? Because like he just rightly said, and we just established the fact that people have different makeups, and forgiveness comes to people differently. What are the processes? Well, let's say you're offended. How do I go through the forgiveness process? How do I start? Let's say I'm so bitter right now, and you're going to tell me, patience, forgive. What would you advise me to do? What are the things I must go through in order to forgive?
Yeah, before I get to that, first and foremost, we need to understand the concept.
Okay.
And the concept of forgiveness is centered on you, the survivor. not the perpetrator. When you understand that, going to what Father said, you now realize that you are doing yourself a favor, not the other person. We need to understand that it's a process. It's not something you achieve in a day or in a twinkle of an eye. Again, depending on the offense. You understand the offense
gravity
committed, the gravity of the offense committed. We also need to understand that forgiveness is based on, it's unconditional. It's unconditional forgiveness we are talking about. You don't have to wait until the person say, I am sorry, before you let go. You need to understand that. That is part of the favor you're doing yourself, not that person. Okay? Now, coming to the processes. There are processes. First and foremost, you need to understand that you have been hurt. You need to acknowledge the hurt. You need to acknowledge the pain. You don't need to live in denial. You need to accept that you have been hurt. Okay? By the time you accept that and deal with it, you are processing it. You are processing the hurt. Then you need to look for somebody you trust, you can confide in, you can talk to. Maybe in a way of confession, going by Catholic way, or somebody, not somebody that a toxic person, no, somebody that can advise you better, or you look for a professional that can counsel you. Okay, you need to also see your person in the other person's, the offender's shoe. Had it been that I am the one, maybe I would have done something worse. You understand? By the time you look at all these things, you are processing the hurt, you are processing the pain. Like Pope John Paul did. I hope I'm right, Father. He went to the prison to ask the person that shot him, what was the motive of you shooting at me? This is what we don't do in this part of the world. We don't want to know the motive of the perpetrator. No, he has hurt me. A line has, there's a line drawn. So you don't need to reach out. You don't want him to come close. No, you need to reach out. Find out the purpose. Why did you do this to me? By the time the person explains, you might have a better understanding, a better clarity. And you now let go. You understand? So these are some of the processes, but we can't give you all here now. These are just the tip of the iceberg. And going by what Father said, some people have the grace to let go easily.
Yes.
Again, depending on the gravity of the offense. So many people, they battle with it for years. I mean, it's
and some for a lifetime.
It's what we call it allopathic load. People carry this baggage every day, every now and then. They move on with it. When you ask them, they say, I've moved on. Yes, you've moved on, positively or negatively. Okay. Something is eating inside you. You don't want to let go. Now, you have a baggage. You go out. Somebody offends you. You carry that grudge again inside. One day you will drop. And the next thing they say, somebody have something has happened from the village. No. It's an emotional baggage you are carrying. Psychological baggage you are carrying. You keep adding on and moving on with it. You need to start letting go. You need to start removing it. You need to start offloading. Okay.
NTA Nugu is ready to join the conversation, and let's all watch this because it's a remarkable story of a man who held grudges for his father, against his father for so many years. The importance of forgiveness. Enugu, let us see this.
I'm gonna be a cat. Good afternoon, sir. You're home. Welcome, sir.
What is good about the afternoon? What are you doing here? You are you watching television?
No, Papa, I finished my...
Shut up your mouth!
This is a prototype of the early days of Mr. Emeka Okereke. A childhood characterized by criticism, comparison, and verbal lash-out.
Growing up wasn't an easy experience for me. While I was growing up, I didn't have a good relationship with my father. At a point, I would sit down and be asking, is he really my father? Because everything I do, he will not see any good in what I'm doing. He will always back at me, shout at me, or even give me local insults. It was a bit of bitterness, anger, filled my emotions. My father didn't allow me to express myself. I always bottled up my anger. It changed my perception about life. I began to say, what is this life for? If one cannot even live a normal life as a child. Even at the school, I couldn't even make enough friends or confident that will even guide me or talk to me or tell me. It affected my school performances. So my schoolwork, my assignment, and my result was so poor.
What a very, very bad result. You can't get anywhere with this. Look the kind of result you are making. Where can this thing help you out? Tell me. Where can this thing take you to? No place. Look at all that children. Look, don't you notify Chinyere, Emeka? All of them are doing very well. I can see that you're only going to end up in the motor park. Nothing else. Take this rubbish with you. Take it away! Disappear from this place. Stupid boy.
My mother was there, but she couldn't do much. As I was growing, the bitterness, I carried it into my adulthood. Through the teens, adolescent, and as old as I am now. I didn't know that the bitterness was affecting me, even physically and spiritually, emotionally. At a point, as if my whole world had shattered. I used to hear of forgiveness or to let go. But I couldn't do that because it was very hard for me to forgive or to let go. How could I forgive when somebody has hurt me and I'm having the feeling, and whenever I remember it, it re-echoes in my memory.
One day, he had an encounter that made the difference.
It was my priest that called me one day to his office and asked me what was the problem. I told him. He now detailed everything about unforgiveness, forgiveness, and repentance. That was when I knew what forgiveness means, and I started forgiving and letting go whatever thing anybody, even if it is my father, whatever thing he did to me. That was how I started letting go and forgiving him.
The young guy who has been having a lot of issues with the father and buckled up with a lot of bitterness in his heart, he's buckling up so many things. He has this understand that the world or the society is evil, so to say. He's not free. He's carrying a load in his heart. So when he let go, either the offense of his father, he found out that life is beautiful. There are some things, because of his perspective of what is carrying in his heart, that he won't be able to appreciate and venture into other things. But when you let go, you are free. You have other opportunity to venture into other things. You live a happy life. You live a life free of bitterness in your heart, which is a great load altogether.
Papa, hello. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
I have experienced the power of forgiveness now. I'm a happier person. I have a beautiful relationship with my father. I have forgiven him and I have let go all that he did to me.
I thank God for this moment.
I thank God for this peace, my family.
I'm now better and happier being a father, a husband, and a good person to the society. Have you guys eaten anything?
Ooh, that was quite emotional. That was quite deep and emotional. In all that happened in that story, please, Francis, Mr. Francis, one of the things I noticed was the man comparing his son with other children. What is the effect of that comparison? And a lot of parents do it. Look at you, other children are this, you are this. What is the effect of that?
That's a different topic altogether. You see, parenting means a lot. People need to understand what parenting is. A lot of people get into it, they don't understand it, they don't know it. You don't dare compare anybody with somebody. You understand? Even your spouse, your partner, you don't compare. The moment you start comparing, you are demoralizing that person. You're building low self-esteem into that person. You're making the person feel inferior before others. So you don't even need to compare.
At all. Father, that story we just watched, he at the point realized that he was not operating right. And he had to make it. What is the effect of him carrying on that? If he had not reconciled with his father, what would have been the effect of, what man would you have had?
First of all, that story, like you said, is very emotional. But in that short clip that we saw, there is a summation of everything about forgiveness. First, that it can be against anybody. A bitterness of the heart, a grudge, anger can be against anybody. This one was against his father. And it takes a process. Just like Mr. Francis said when you asked about how to come to that point. The first is the realization that there is something I need to deal with. He didn't see it until someone helped him to come to that realization. To answer your question, the effect of all of those baggages that he was carrying. As I was watching that clip, I just said, this man's wife and children would have suffered a lot before he got to that point. Why? Everything that happened to him somehow will affect everybody around him. That's the bad thing about the inability or the refusal to forgive. You are bitter, so your outlook towards life also is bitter. It's very easy to lash out at people, transfer aggressions, and the closest people to such a person will be the wife and the children. So they are the ones who will bear the bigger brunt of that whole thing that he was going through. So when we refuse to forgive an offense, a hurt, and we carry it, each time the memory comes to us, our whole worldview is muddled up, especially at that instant. And anybody around us will feel it, consciously or unconsciously. But oftentimes, the effect comes in an unconscious display, because people are doing what they do, not even realizing that they are offending somebody else. But they are not doing this with the intention of offending anybody. They are just living out what they are carrying inside of them. And that's why it is really very important to forgive, because it affects everything around you negatively. Everything. And if we want to talk about the consequences of unforgiveness, maybe we'll need the next 2 days just on that topic only, that subject alone.
Of unforgiveness. We'll talk about it when we come back, because right now we are going on a break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us today in the studio, it's all about forgiveness. During the break, I was having a conversation with my guest, and Mr. Francis said something profound. He said, reconciliation is not forgiveness. Please, what do you mean by that? When people reconcile and they are hugging, if that is not forgiveness, what exactly is?
Okay, before I say that, there's something that came to my mind I need to let us understand. When we talk about forgiveness, there's what we call self-forgiveness. You need to forgive yourself first. Yes, along the line, you may have decided to go on a career path or something in life, and unfortunately something happens you didn't, or somebody made you not to. You are bitter against yourself. You need to forgive yourself. It's important. You understand? Now, forgiveness, reconciliation is not forgiveness, and it can never. Forgiveness is mandatory. Forgiveness is compulsory. Forgiveness is a decree from God, while reconciliation is optional. You forgive, it is important, you must let go. But reconciliation, you may decide to or not. Forgiveness is centered on you, is about you. Reconciliation is about you and the other person. You understand? So you either forgive and reconcile, or you decide not to reconcile. But the bottom line is, are you at peace with yourself? Deep down your heart, have you let go? Have you forgiven? If you have, you may decide to reconcile or not to reconcile. Now, most times people, cover up with reconciliation. They say, but I talk with him, we greet, we do things together. But bitterness is still inside you. Heart. You're just waiting for an opportunity to revenge. Most times people don't revenge because they have not gotten the opportunity. If we get the opportunity, we will revenge. You remember that thing you did to me the other day? So, you see, they have been talking, they agreed. That is reconciliation, but forgiveness has not taken place. Forgiveness, you need to, in as much as we take you through the process, a therapist or a psychologist will take you through the process. The final decision is on you. You have to make up by yourself. It has to come from the bottom of your heart. You have to decide that, no, I have carried this thing for a very long time. I need to let go. I need to offload. The moment you do that and you are at peace with yourself, reconciliation is optional. It's not compulsory.
Okay. Father, I want you to speak to this too. Reconciliation. You make two people, they say, okay, we've forgiven each other, they shake hands, and that is still not forgiveness. I need you to speak to that.
That's very true. That's very true. Reconciliation is just on the surface. And if we confuse reconciliation for forgiveness, we have a problem. Because you have not dealt with the issue. You have not dealt with the pain. You have not dealt with the bitterness. You have only done a surface decoration of an event, of a scenario, of a relationship. So we can say good morning, good morning. We can shake hands. We can even do business together. But I still don't feel good about you on the inside. Why? Because I have not forgiven you. Following the clip, let's draw from that clip we saw, the one from the Mr. Emeka in Enugu. Mr. Emeka may be in touch with the father. They are not at war. So supposedly they are at peace. There's reconciliation, so to speak, but there's no forgiveness because the whole thing is on the inside. And like Mr. Francis said, forgiveness is beneficial more to the one who is doing the forgiving.
Yeah.
Reconciliation benefits both parties. And when we are talking about forgiveness here, the focus is not on the offender.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is not focused on the offender. Forgiveness is focused on the offended.
Yes.
Forgiveness is focused on the offended. So when we talk forgiveness, it is about you doing yourself a favor. When you forgive, you are not doing the other person a favor. You are doing yourself a favor because unforgiveness is like a prison, a cage. And you are the prisoner and you are the warder and you have the key to the prison. So when you forgive, you are setting yourself free from that prison, not the other person. You can't drink poison and expect somebody else to die.
Because there is great St. Augustine said that.
Yeah.
That unforgiveness is taking poison and expecting the
other
next person to die.
Yeah.
So reconciliation and forgiveness are two different things. One can lead to the other. Forgiveness can lead to reconciliation. But reconciliation without forgiveness is just a facade, it's a smoke screen.
Okay, so I'm going to go to a popular saying. We hear forgive and forget.
Yeah.
Is that real? Do you actually will forgive and then forget?
You see, there's a misconception there. As a human being living, you can't forget what has happened to you, whether it is good or bad. But the forgetfulness there is when you have forgiven, you remember not to revenge. When you have forgiven, you remember to be positive about it. When you have forgiven, you remember not to be angry. Not that you forget completely, no. But as time goes on, you may also forget.
Yeah.
But anytime you remember in a lighter mood. That shows forgiveness. But whenever you remember and your heart starts to palpitate, you are still angry, you're still bitter, you have not forgiven. Whenever you remember or hear the person's name, and it's not the person in particular, or you see somebody that looks alike, and you start, boiling inside, you have not forgiven. True. You're still battling.
Okay, let me take this message. He says, should forgiveness always come from the offended? Always. How do you forgive someone who cost you your job? So much pain and a lot of denials, but still pretends towards you. And he denies not knowing what he has or what he or she has done, going about recruiting others to even hate you and devalue you. Yes, I can forgive, but I don't even know how to forgive or even forget. So this person is writing, said, how do you forget such a grievous offense? Father, will you react to this message?
Whoever sent that message, I believe you are watching. I strongly advise that you seek help. Seek counsel from someone who can really help you with this. Maybe like if you have someone around you, like Mr. Francis, who is a social worker and an expert in handling things like this, or a priest, or your pastor, if you are a Muslim, talk to your imam if you believe strongly that the person can help you get away from this and heal. Now, sometimes people offend you and they are not remorseful.
Yes.
And you will see that a lot.
Yes.
They are not remorseful. And just like this person said in his or her message, they may even make you become like the problem. So they do more to offend you, they attack you the more. At the end of it all, just as we've said, and we will continue to say, forgiving is not about the person who has offended you. It is about doing yourself a favor, doing yourself a great good. It may be difficult depending on the gravity of the offense and the person involved. The closer the person is to you, the stronger your relationship with the person, the greater the pain.
The greater the pain?
Yes, usually. Someone offends you on the street that you don't know, it's easy to get away.
Yeah, you move on.
You just get away from it and you just go. Maybe you are driving and another motorist does something and you are offended. You don't know the person, you may never see the person again. It's a lot easier to just move on. But your own blood, your own family, your close friend, that one is a lot difficult, much more difficult to deal with. So to this person who sent this message, again I say, as we've said, the beneficiary here is you who is doing the forgiving. Because for as long as you carry this pain, you will not be happy. You may not even progress. Because each time you think about this, you act erratically. And you may make wrong decisions or wrong judgments that may even affect your growth, even if you leave that workspace and you are somewhere else. You remember this, you are not acting well. So I appeal to this person, I encourage this person, as I say, seek help. Also, listen to what we are saying here, that it is more to your advantage. As you forgive someone, pray for the person to see the error of their ways and repent of such evil deeds, so that they don't do it to somebody else, and then there are not two people who are carrying bitterness on the streets. But when you set yourself free, you open up yourself for positive energy, and you can better begin to look at life excuse me, in a better light, from a better perspective, not with the cloud of the bitterness and the pain and all of that.
Okay, more messages are coming in. Somebody says, in a situation where, please let's know your name and where you're writing from. Okay, in a situation where the offender refuses to change or stop hurting you, what can I do? Good morning. Another person writes in, he says, okay, Eki from Utukpa, forgiveness is not just letting go of the past. It's about embracing the future, free from weight or grudges. As an old saying goes, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Letting go allows us to reclaim our peace and move forward with a lighter heart. Thank you, Eki from Utukpa. That's a good one. Somebody said, you're discussing, the topic you're discussing is a good one, but I feel you should have invited a Malam also. A Malam is coming in tomorrow. We are going to have, so that we can also take it from the Islamic perspective. We're all rounders here. We're one big family, one united. And Nigeria. Okay, so we talked about somebody since going to. Okay, my producer is telling me that we should go to Kaduna. They're itching and willing to join the conversation. When we come back, you would answer the question I'm about to ask you. Okay, Kaduna, take it away.
Apology is when someone says sorry for something they did wrong. It's a way to show remorse and try to make things right. Sincere apologies can have a transformative effect on relationships. When someone genuinely apologizes, it shows that they recognize their mistakes and take responsibility for their actions. This act of humility can open up a space for healing and understanding. It allows the person who was hurt to feel heard and validated, which can be incredibly powerful in the forgiveness process.
Scholars are of the view, if you have committed a sin against others, it's not necessary that you must mention the nature of the sins committed, but you can ask him that, can you please forgive me for what I have done to you of wrongs? So as a Muslim, he is required also to say, I have forgiven you because of what I have said before. He also commits sins against others. So just for him to accept, it shouldn't be a great thing. So man should express himself. It's better to have reconciliation involved than to allow it after death.
Apologies have a lot of power. They can help mend relationships and promote forgiveness. When someone sincerely apologizes, it acknowledges their mistake and shows that they care about the other person's feelings. Apologies can also help restore trust and create a better understanding between people. It's a powerful way to take responsibility and make amends.
Apology is very powerful, and we must tender our apologies from the heart. Mean it. Mean your apology, and be committed not to do it again. That's when apologies are real, not apology for apology's sake. Okay, so messages are coming in. I have to take this one. My husband is not a forgiving type. He's holding a grudge with his uncle and his wife for more than 5 years. His uncle is seriously sick at the point of death, but he refused to see or greet him. Gloria from Plateau. I mean, what's going on here, Mr. Francis?
That's revenge. There's something the uncle must have done in the past that he's holding on to.
Yes.
He's using this as a revenge too against the uncle. He has not forgiven. And the best thing for him is to let go. You understand? He needs to let go. He needs to understand.
Because I was going to ask you before the break that at what point should you know that this thing, I need help. I need to seek help. You know, that was what I was going to ask you before we went on the break. You know, at times you can't do it on your own. Like Father said, you might need help. What do you do? At what point do you tell yourself, how do you even get help? You're a therapist. How do people come to you?
You see, it's by referral. Okay, as we are talking here now, we're creating awareness. Some people may even call you after this program. What's the contact of this person, blah, blah, blah. You understand? Again, it's not the doctor that meets the patient. It's the patient that looks for the doctor. Okay? A lot of people go through this, but they're not aware. But inside you, you know that something is wrong.
It's wrong.
So if you know that something is wrong, look for how you can help yourself. It can even be a trusted friend. The moment you're talking to that trusted friend, for the fact that you are opening up, you're offloading already.
Yeah.
Now, the trusted friend might not be able to take you through the process. He may have idea of how to refer you. But try to open up. Speak out.
True.
Don't harbor it.
Okay. So many questions, so many messages are coming. Somebody said, Father, how do you forgive a wife who, when she's angry, she's always breaking a TV? She'll break a TV, I buy another one, she breaks it. Father, how do you forgive such a wife?
I think first of all, the wife needs help with anger management. Yeah. That's somebody who goes overboard when angry. And if that her anger problem is managed, this will not be a problem anymore.
Okay. Yes.
And it will become a lot easier to talk about forgiving such a person. It simply shows that for the one who is asking the question, maybe just by the way he put the question, maybe his focus is actually on the issues of the wife, not on him forgiving. Yes, that's my perception. Her reactions when she's angry, how she manages things when she's angry. So I think what the person needs actually is to help the wife deal with her anger issues. And there are therapists who can help with this. And if the wife is committed to becoming a better person, she will go through such sessions. Well, you see, the problem here is in this our climb, when we talk about therapy,
yes,
many people don't want to hear therapy, they don't want to hear they are going for therapy, but many of us need it. Many of us need it. Anger is an issue that some people cannot manage on their own. They need a therapist to help them. Forgiveness is an issue that some people need a therapist to help them. There are so many things that we need therapists for. And the job of the therapist is not to solve your problem, but to help you realize that you have the power innate in you to solve that problem. So they become like companions on a journey, leading you from where you are to where you ought to be. That's the job of a therapist. Just like a friend who is holding you by the hand when you are afraid and say, don't worry, nothing will happen. We did together. Are they here with you? Nothing will happen. And they lead you through a dark phase of your life and bring you to a point where there's light. So people like this need a therapist. And this issue will become something that they can just easily now look at.
Okay, the messages are coming on almost in their hundreds now. Somebody say, how do you deal with a situation where you are imprisoned and jailed for a crime you did not commit? How do you ever deal with that, Mr. Francis? Say, I mean, we have stories of people being in jail 4 years, 10 years, and they didn't even commit the crime. They are out now. And you're asking a man like that to forgive. I mean, where does it start?
First and foremost, you need to be grateful to God that you are out and you didn't commit the crime. You need to be proud of yourself that you didn't commit the crime. In fact, that should be a trigger for you to embrace forgiveness. You understand? You are bitter against the person that caused your jail. But at the end of the day, you didn't commit the crime. You understand? You should be happy and toe the line of forgiveness. Forgive the person, let the person go. See, there's what they call in law, double jeopardy. I'm not a lawyer. You suffer the pain or the hurt, then you suffer
imprisonment.
The
imprisonment.
Imprisonment. You suffer bondage, you suffer hostage. Why? And you're the one holding yourself hostage.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, one important thing again about forgiveness is that the offender may have forgotten that he has offended you and gone his way. You are battling. There's an instance. 2 weeks ago, I called somebody. I said, I want to add you to a platform. He said, who is this? I said, I'm so. He said, you remember when I asked you to help me with a proposal, you said no? I said, I didn't say no, but I needed to understand how you want the proposal. I needed to understand how our organization will be part of it. You didn't furnish me with those. You see, he was holding bitter grudge against me on that. And I have forgotten.
And you didn't even remember.
I have forgotten. It happens. It happens. I was in a training. We are doing trauma training. Forgiveness came up. A man of about 40-something years said, does it mean that I'm still holding grudge against my uncle that refused to pay my school fees? And I managed to be where I am today as a teacher because I struggled on my own. That diverted the course. We now focus on forgiveness. After the therapy, honestly speaking, I am not exaggerating. The following day, that man came like a 16-year-old boy, looking fresh, looking younger.
Father, thank you so much for coming. We've kept you beyond the time that you asked us. I don't know, are you going to stay? I wanted to promise us on, are you staying or you're leaving?
No, I have to leave shortly.
Okay, thank you so much for
your time. But before I go, if you permit me, let me just say one thing.
Okay, please. Quickly.
I say this all the time, and I would like to say it here.
Okay.
Principally, there are 3 categories of persons we need to forgive in life. First is other people who offend us. That's basically what we are talking about today.
Okay.
Secondly, the self. Mr. Francis mentioned that, but we didn't put emphasis on that. Sometimes we need to forgive ourselves for things that we did that we regret, or things that we ought to have done that we did not do. And people are bitter not against someone, but against themselves. People need to realize that they can be bitter towards themselves and forgive themselves. And thirdly, this one, a lot of people find it shocking. I say people also need to forgive God. Yes. Sometimes, some people need to forgive God. And what do I mean? There are people who are angry, not at anybody, not at themselves. They're angry at God. Where was God when this happened?
Why me?
Why did God not
allow
do
this to happen?
So their bitterness is not towards a human being. Their bitterness is towards the divine. Their anger is towards God. People need to forgive God. People need to realize that God is God and God is not man. And God will act in a manner that makes him divine. not in subjection to our own wills. And when God acts, it is largely for our own good. So some people are angry at God. And I'm saying to such people, even though you may not have realized it, we sometimes, depending on whatever it is, we may need to forgive God. But again, when we say forgive God, we are not doing God a favor.
No, God is God all by himself.
We are doing ourselves a favor. Just as when we forgive other people, we are not doing them a favor.
Yes,
we are doing ourselves a favor.
Yes.
Sorry, and that's the contribution I wanted to make. And I'd like to say a happy new year to all Nigerians and everybody watching from all over the world.
Father Silvanus. You brought a whole lot of depth knowledge to this conversation. Thank you
for having me on the show.
Thank you for always coming when we call upon you. God bless you. Thank you. God bless you. We'll go on the break. Mr. Francis is still here and the conversation is still on. Don't go away. So many messages here. I'll read just this one. Pray for me that is what I'm facing. My husband, at home, my husband is not a forgiving type. Once he's angry, if you greet him the next day, he would not answer you. Then somebody says, our uncle refused to forgive my father for about 10 years. My father was asking for forgiveness. He refused until after the death of my father. He comes in asking us for forgiveness. What should we do? He did not offend us directly. Can we take the position of our father? Do we continue with the fight and all? Mr. Francis, unforgiveness, what it does to a people, what should they do? And you told me something about what unforgiveness does to a nation. Please, just put it all together in one conversation.
To a nation, unforgiveness deters development. It hinders progress. And I can give you a typical example. Like what we are going through in Nigeria now. You can tell, I can tell you specifically that there's nothing like development or progress going on. You can look at Rwanda. When Rwanda, after the genocide, they came down, sat together and did what we call Truth and Reconciliation Commission. In that process, there was forgiveness. Today, nobody calls Tutsi Hutsi in Rwanda. What they know is, I'm a Rwandese. And you see how they are progressing like a first world country. They don't look like third world country again. But we are still, from the third world, it's like we are going back because we have not dealt with the history of the war in Nigeria. We are still in denial. We are still bitter against each other. And you can see it every now and then. Okay, that reminds me again, sometime last year, Plateau State, the governor of Plateau State did what we call forgiveness program. How can you do forgiveness program just like that? After that forgiveness program, see what is going on. The killings.
It was a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a step. You need to do it properly.
Okay.
Do it properly. Make sure there's healing along the line. There's healing along the line. You don't just come to the public and say this is forgiveness and bring people to talk about forgiveness. The people that got affected, have they forgiven? The perpetrators, where are they? You need to do it and do it right. You don't just come out and do it maybe because of you want to gain popularity or whatever, I don't know. To me, it was not properly done.
Okay. So as a nation...
we need to embrace forgiveness. Yes. We need to forgive each other. Okay. We need to put the past behind us. We need to move away from denial. So a lot of people are caught up in denial. Now, somebody saying that should they take the place of the father? No. This is a different generation. You don't know the cause of the problem. And again, on that note, I want to say, if you are holding grudge onto somebody and the person is late, you still stand a chance to forgive that person. But people find it difficult to say, funny. Oh, the person is dead, he's gone. No, you are still bitter against that person. Because any day they talk about that person, the bitterness comes up. You still stand the chance to forgive that person. Yes, the person is late.
Oh my goodness.
If you don't forgive, you're still in prison.
You're in prison?
Yes.
And you must let go.
You must let go. Whether the person is still alive or not. It sounds strange. Yes, it sounds strange, but you have to forgive.
Okay. Somebody said, my name is Mavis from Benue State, Makodi. Forgiveness is really hard, but one have to let go. So I have to forgive. I have learned this morning that I must forgive. So he's saying thank you to you and Reverend Father for making him. A whole lot of forgiveness is going on even as we speak, and healings are going on. And once we heal as a nation, as individuals, progress is sure. If you let go of that burden, if you let go of that pain, progress will come. That job, you say, okay, your boss was bad to you and he put you down somewhere. Forgive him. And you see how opportunities, other new opportunities will arise. For some people, all you need to do this year is to pick that call and say, I've forgiven you, I am sorry. Okay, so we are going. What are your last words? Let's say goodbye.
My last word is, because there's something I developed on this, I call it forgiveness perspective. There are 4. You have the blockers, you have the masqueraders,
yes.
You have the embracers.
Okay.
So you need to ask yourself, which way do you belong?
Which one are you?
Which
goodbye.
one are you?
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
And God bless you. Goodbye. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Let love lead. Goodbye.